I'm Arthur, 62, male. I live in a sprawling, mid-century modern home in the suburbs of Seattle that I designed myself 30 years ago. It's a bit too much house for one man, especially since my wife Eleanor passed away 4 years ago, but I couldn't bear to sell it. Now, the silence is filled, mostly with tension, by my son Liam and his wife Chloe, who moved in temporarily 6 months ago to save for their own place. I'm a retired architect, spending my days sketching in the garden or consulting on small passion projects. I thought having family close would be a blessing in my golden years. I was wrong. This story isn't just about a breakfast. It's about realizing that the people you raised might not be the people you know. It's about the terrifying moment you realize your safety is secondary to someone else's inheritance. It starts with a plate of pancakes, but it ends with a war I never wanted to fight. Before this story unfolds, I'd love to connect with you. Please let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world. It's amazing to see how far these stories can travel. The smell of burnt sugar and vanilla was the first thing to greet me that morning. It was unusual. For the past 6 months, the kitchen had been a sterile zone until at least 10:00 a.m. My daughter-in-law Chloe wasn't exactly a morning person. She was a content creator, a job that seemed to involve staying up until 200 a.m. editing videos about her skincare routine and sleeping until noon. Usually I was the one up at 6:00 a.m., brewing my dark roast coffee, reading the paper, and enjoying the solitude of the sunrise over the garden I had cultivated for decades. But today, the kitchen was alive with noise and chaos at 7:30 a.m. I walked down the floating oak staircase, the wood cool beneath my socks. My golden retriever, Buster, trotted beside me, his nails clicking rhythmically. He was usually the first to the kitchen, hoping for a drop piece of toast, but today he hesitated at the doorway, whining low in his throat. I should have taken that as the first sign. Animals know things we don't. They sense shifts in the atmosphere, changes in barometric pressure, and, I believe, changes in intent. "Good morning, Arthur?" Chloe chirped. I blinked, momentarily stunned. Chloe was standing by the island, wearing a floral apron over her silk pajamas. Her hair, usually a messy bun at this hour, was perfectly styled. She was whisking batter in a glass bowl with an energy that felt manic. "Morning, Chloe," I said, eyeing the spread. "You're up early?" "I felt inspired," she beamed, flashing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. It was her camera smile, the one she used when she was unboxing a sponsored product she secretly hated. I realized I haven't been the best houseguest lately, and I wanted to make it up to you. I'm making your favorite. Blueberry pancakes with a special vanilla reduction syrup. I felt a knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach. Not because of the food, but because of the timing. "That's incredibly thoughtful of you, Chloe," I said, moving toward the coffee maker. "Really, it is. But I can't eat this morning." The whisking stopped. The silence that followed was heavy, instant, and sharp. "What do you mean you can't eat?" she asked, her voice dropping an octave. The bubbly influencer persona evaporated, replaced by something colder. "I have my annual physical with Dr. Henderson at 900 a.m., I explained, pouring water into the reservoir. "I have to do a full lipid panel and glucose test. I've been fasting since 800 p.m. last night. Strictly water and black coffee only." It was on the calendar, the big magnetic calendar on the fridge that Chloe used to schedule her shoot days. I had written ARTHUR, Henderson Festinge in big red letters 3 days ago. Chloe stared at me, the whisk-dripping batter onto the pristine quartz counter. "But I made these for you." "I know, and I appreciate the gesture," I said gently. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted my coffee and my checkup. "Maybe you and Liam can enjoy them, or I can heat some up later this afternoon once I'm back." "It's not the same reheated, Arthur," she snapped. I used fresh blueberries. I scraped actual vanilla beans. "This isn't Bisquick." Just then, Liam walked in. My son looked groggy, his hair tousled, wearing sweatpants and a T-shirt I'd bought him for a hike 3 years ago. He rubbed his eyes, looking from Chloe's rigid posture to me. "What's going on?" he yawned. "Why is everyone yelling?" "I'm not yelling," I said calmly. Chloe made breakfast, which was very sweet of her, but I reminded her I'm fasting for my blood work this morning. Liam looked at the stove, where a stack of pancakes was already sizzling on the griddle. He looked at Chloe, whose lower lip was trembling. It was a performance I had seen a dozen times, yet Liam fell for it every single time. He was a smart boy, a marketing executive who managed million-dollar budgets, but when it came to his wife, he was blind. "Dad," Liam sighed, running a hand through his hair. "She's been up since 6 a.m. making this. She wanted to do something nice." "I understand that, Liam," I said, keeping my voice level. "But Dr. Henderson was very specific. If I eat, the results are void. I'd have to reschedule, and you know how hard it is to get a morning slot with him.
So reschedule.
Chloe burst out, tears finally spilling over. Is a doctor's appointment more important than family? I'm trying so hard here, Arthur. I feel like an intruder in this house, and the one time I try to do something to say thank you, you reject it. I'm not rejecting you, I'm rejecting the pancakes, I said, feeling my patience fraying. This is about my health. I'm 62. I have high cholesterol history in the family. This isn't a game. Liam stepped between us, turning his back to Chloe to face me. His expression was one of disappointment, bordering on anger. It hurt. It hurt more than I cared to admit. I remembered the days when he was 5, and he'd cling to my leg when I left for work. Now he looked at me like I was a stubborn tenant he couldn't evict. You know, Dad, you can be really rigid sometimes, Liam said. Would it kill you to eat one pancake, just one? To show you care? Actually, Lim, it might not kill me, but it renders the medical test useless. I retorted, my architect's precision kicking in. I'm not being rigid, I'm being responsible. Why is this such a big deal? Why is me not eating causing a meltdown? Because it's the principle, Liam shouted, his voice echoing off the high ceilings. She's your daughter-in-law. She's trying to bond with you. You treat her like she's invisible half the time, and now you're throwing her effort in her face for a damn blood test? I put walnuts in them, Chloe whispered from behind him. Because I know you like the crunch, I froze. I'm sorry, I asked, looking past Lamb to her. Walnuts, she said, wiping her eyes. I crushed them up really fine in the batter. Chloe, I said slowly. I'm allergic to walnuts. The room went dead silent. The only sound was the coffee maker gurgling its final drops. No, you're not, Liam said, frowning. You eat pecans all the time. Pecans, yes, walnuts, no. I corrected him. I have a mild to moderate sensitivity to walnuts. It causes throat swelling. Not anaphylaxis usually, but enough to send me to the ER if I eat enough. I've mentioned this. It's why I don't buy that carrot cake from the bakery on 5th Street. Chloe's eyes went wide. I thought it was peanuts. I thought you were allergic to peanuts. I'm not allergic to peanuts, I said. I'm allergic to walnuts. Well, I didn't know, she cried, throwing her hands up. See, this is what I mean. I try to do something nice, and I almost kill you, and now I'm the bad guy. I can't do anything right. She stormed out of the kitchen, sobbing. We heard the bedroom door slam upstairs a few seconds later. Liam glared at me. Nest going, Dad. Liam, she put an allergen in my food, I said, incredulous. Even if I wasn't fasting. I couldn't have eaten it.
She didn't know,
he defended her, his face turning red. She made a mistake. But you didn't have to be so cold about it from the start. You didn't know about the walnuts when you first refused. You refused because you care more about your schedule than her feelings. I care about my health, I argued. And frankly, I'm shocked you're taking her side on this. I have a medical appointment. That is a valid reason to decline breakfast. Liam shook his head, grabbing the plate of pancakes Chloe had abandoned. Whatever. You're impossible. I'm going to go comfort my wife. Don't expect us for dinner. He marched upstairs, leaving me alone in the kitchen with the smell of burnt sugar and the cold realization that my son had just chosen his wife's tears over my safety. I looked down at Buster. He was sitting by the stove, looking up at the counter. You're right, buddy, I muttered, pouring my black coffee into a travel mug. Something stinks in here. I grabbed my keys and headed for the garage. I was 20 minutes early for my appointment, but I couldn't stay in that house a second longer. As the garage door rolled down, blocking out the sight of my home, I felt a strange sense of foreboding. It wasn't just the argument. Arguments happen. It was the walnuts. I had told Chloe about the walnut allergy 2 weeks ago. We were watching a cooking show, and I'd explicitly said, I miss walnut brownies, but my throat closes up just thinking about them. She had looked right at me and said, Oh, that's terrible. I'll remember that. She knew. Dr. Henderson, Robert to me, has been my friend since our freshman year at UW. He's the kind of doctor who still actually looks at you instead of typing into a laptop the whole time. He's seen me through a broken leg from a skiing trip in the 90s, the shingles outbreak of 2010, and the devastating months following Eleanor's death. I sat on the crinkly paper of the exam table, my shirt off, staring at the anatomy chart on the wall. Blood pressure is a little high, Arthur, Robert said, unwrapping the cuff from my arm. 145/90. Usually, you're sitting pretty at 120/80. Something on your mind, or just domestic stress, I sighed, rubbing my face. Liam and Chloe, Robert hummed, scribbling on his notepad. The kid's still crashing at the pad. 6 months and counting. They're supposed to be saving for a down payment, but I see packages from Amazon showing up daily. Designer clothes. High-end electronics. I don't see a lot of saving going on. And the stress? We had a blowout this morning. I admitted. Chloe made breakfast. A big production. Pancakes with walnuts. I refused because of the fasting and because, walnuts. Robert stopped writing. Over the rim of his glasses, his gray eyebrows knit together. She put walnuts in them. Doesn't she know? She says she forgot. Confused it with peanuts. Arthur, Robert said, his tone shifting from friend to physician. You mentioned that allergy at the BBQ last 4th of July. She made that potato salad and asked if she could put walnuts in it, and you said no. I remember because I ate the extra walnuts she had in the bag. A chill went down my spine. I had forgotten about that. Robert was right. Maybe she just really has a bad memory, I offered weakly. Maybe, Robert said, though he didn't sound convinced. Look, stress raises cortisol. Cortisol messes with everything. You need to set boundaries. If living with them is spiking your BP, you need to kick them out. For your health. I can't just kick my son out. He's 28, Arthur. He's not a child. He's a grown man with a wife who apparently tries to feed you allergens. Robert stood up. All right, let's get this blood draw over with so you can get some food in you. You look pale. The nurse came in, did the draw, and I was out by 10:15 a.m. I stopped at a diner on the way home and ordered dry toast and scrambled eggs, eating slowly. I didn't want to go back. The house, usually my sanctuary, felt like enemy territory. When I finally pulled into the driveway around 11:30 a.m., Liam's car was gone. He must have gone to work late. Chloe's car was there, though I unlocked the front door, bracing myself for another confrontation. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Chloe, I called out, no answer. Buster usually... The sound of the front door opening sent Buster into a frenzy of tail wags and happy barks. Today!
Silence.
Panic, cold and sharp, pierced my chest. Buster! I yelled. Dropping my keys on the console table, I ran to the kitchen. Empty. The pancake mess had been cleaned up, the counters wiped down. I ran to the living room. Nothing. I threw open the back door to the garden. Buster! Then I saw him. He was lying under the old oak tree in the corner of the yard, near the compost bin. He was on his side, his breathing shallow and rapid. Foam was bubbling around his muzzle. Oh my God, I gasped, sprinting across the lawn. I dropped to my knees beside him. His golden fur was matted with dirt. He whined when I touched him, a sound so pitiful it broke my heart. It's okay, boy. I've got you. I scooped him up. He was heavy, 80 pounds of dead weight. But adrenaline gave me strength I didn't know I had. I ran back to the car, ignoring the pain in my lower back. I wrestled him into the back seat, his head lolling onto the upholstery. I drove to the emergency vet clinic like a maniac. I ran 2 red lights. I didn't care. Buster was the only living thing in that house that looked at me with unconditional love. He was Eleanor's dog. We got him as a puppy 6 months before she died. Losing him would be like losing her all over again. I burst into the clinic, shouting for help. 2 vet techs rushed out with a gurney and wheeled him away. What happened? The vet, a stern woman named Dr. Lewis, asked as she checked his vitals. I don't know. I stammered, my hands shaking. I came home and found him like this.
Foaming at the mouth. Lethargic.
Any access to toxins, rat poison, antifreeze? No, I don't keep any of that stuff unlocked. Did he eat anything unusual? I froze. The image of the kitchen that morning flashed in my mind. The pancakes. The special syrup. The mess. My daughter-in-law made pancakes, I said, with walnuts and vanilla reduction. I refused them. Maybe she threw them out and he got into the trash. Walnuts can be toxic to dogs if they are moldy, but fresh ones usually just 'cause upset stomachs. Dr. Lewis said, shining a light in Buster's eyes. This looks neurological. We need to run panels immediately. Wait in the lobby. The next hour was the longest of my life. I sat in the plastic chair, staring at the clock. I texted Liam, Buster is sick. Emergency vet, it's bad. He didn't reply. Finally, Dr. Lewis came out. She looked grim. He's stable, she said, and I let out a breath I had been holding for 60 minutes. But it was close. We pumped his stomach and started him on IV fluids and anti-seizure meds. What was it? We found a large amount of pancake batter and cooked pancakes in his stomach content, she said. But Arthur, it wasn't the walnuts. His glucose levels crashed to near 0. He has severe hypoglycemia. That's what caused the seizures. Hypoglycemia. From pancakes? Standard pancakes are full of sugar and carbs. They would raise blood sugar, not crash it, she explained. Unless they were made with a sugar substitute. Specifically, xylitol or birch sugar.
I frowned. Xylitol.
It's a common sweetener in keto or diet foods. It's perfectly safe for humans, but it's incredibly lethal to dogs. Even a small amount triggers a massive insulin release, causing a fatal drop in blood sugar. Did your daughter-in-law use a sugar substitute? I thought back to the morning. I felt inspired. Healthy. I don't know, I said. She's into health trends. If he had eaten 2 more pancakes, he would be dead. Dr. Lewis said bluntly, you need to go home and find exactly what was in those pancakes. If it is xylitol, you need to make sure there is none left in the house where he can reach it. I nodded, feeling sick. Xylitol. If I had eaten them, well, xylitol acts like a laxative in humans in large doses, but it wouldn't kill me. But the walnuts would have closed my throat. It felt like a scattershot approach, like a minefield had been laid out on the breakfast table. I paid the deposit, $2,000, and told them to keep Buster overnight for observation. I needed to go home. I needed to see that kitchen. When I got back to the house, it was 2:00 p.m. Liam's car was in the driveway. He was home early. I walked inside. Liam and Chloe were in the living room watching TV. They looked up when I entered. Dad, Liam asked, pausing the show. I got your text. Is Buster okay? He's alive, I said, my voice shaking with suppressed rage. Barely. Oh my God, Chloe said, putting a hand over her mouth. What happened? Did he eat a bug or something? I looked at her, really looked at her. She was wearing a cozy, oversized sweater, looking for all the world like an innocent, concerned family member. But I saw the tightness in her jaw. He ate the pancakes, I said. What? Chloe blinked. I threw those in the compost bin outside. I didn't think he could get to them. He did, I said. And the vet found something interesting. She said his blood sugar crashed. She said it was xylitol poisoning. Chloe didn't flinch. Not even a little. Oh, I use birch sugar. It's healthier than white sugar. I didn't know it was bad for dogs. You use birch sugar, I repeated. And walnuts? Yes, she said. I told you I was trying to make a healthy special breakfast. Healthy for who? Chloe. I stepped closer. Walnuts, which I'm allergic to, and xylitol, which acts as a powerful laxative for humans and kills dogs. And you served this on the morning of my fasting blood work. Dad, stop. Liam stood up. She didn't know about the dog thing. Nobody knows that. I didn't even know that. It's written on the fridge, I said, pointing to the kitchen. We have a magnet on the fridge that says no guiar piss, no onanos no sotuel for the dog sitters. It's been there for 5 years. Liam looked at the fridge. The magnet was there, faded but legible. I never read the magnets. Chloe stammered, tears forming again. Why are you attacking me? I made a mistake. I threw them away. I didn't feed them to the dog. You threw them in the open compost bin in the yard, knowing Buster roams the yard, I said. That's negligence, at best. It was an accident, Liam shouted. Jesus, Dad, the dog is okay, right? She's sorry. Why do you have to turn everything into a conspiracy? Because, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. If I had eaten that breakfast, I would be in the hospital with an allergic reaction. And because I didn't eat it, my dog is almost dead. It feels like this breakfast was designed to do damage. You're crazy, Liam said, shaking his head. You're actually losing it. Come on, Chloe, let's go upstairs. I can't deal with him when he's like this. They walked away again, leaving me alone. I went to the kitchen. I dug the trash can out from under the sink. I needed to see the packaging. I needed to see exactly what she had bought. The bin was empty. Where is the trash? I muttered. I looked out the window. The large curbside bin had been rolled out to the street. It was Tuesday. Trash day was Thursday. Why had she taken the trash out 2 days early? I walked out the front door, down the driveway, and opened the lid of the wheelie bin. There was a white kitchen bag on top. I ripped it open. Coffee grounds, eggshells, and empty packaging. I found the bag for the flour, the empty carton of eggs, and then I found it a small, crushed box of pure birch xylitol. And underneath that, a receipt. I smoothed out the crumpled thermal paper. It was from a specialty health food store downtown, dated yesterday. Items: Fuchs gluten-free flour, Fuchs birch xylitol, Fuchs bulk, walnuts, crushed Fuchs castor beans, ornamentali, froze. Castor beans. I'm an architect, but I'm also a gardener. I know plants. I know what grows in this zone and what doesn't. And I know about castor beans. Castor beans contain ricin. Why on earth would Chloe, who has never gardened a day in her life, buy ornamental castor beans? I dug deeper into the bag. I found the packet of seeds. It was open. The seeds were missing. My blood ran cold. She hadn't just put walnuts in the pancakes. She hadn't just used xylitol. She was brewing something else. I stood there in the driveway, the wind whipping my thinning hair around my face, staring at the empty seed packet. Resinous communis. Castor oil plant. Warning labels covered the back of the packet. Piacelas del FNGestadi. K. Pedifram Caldernean pets. The seeds were beautiful, mottled brown and glossy, looking like engorged ticks. And they were gone, all 10 of them. My hands were shaking so hard the receipt rattled. Walnuts for an allergic reaction. Xylitol for, well, maybe just ignorance? Or maybe to ensure I had severe gastrointestinal distress to mask other symptoms. But ricin is a slow, agonizing death. It causes organ failure over days. It mimics severe food poisoning or the flu. It's hard to trace unless you're looking for it. If I had eaten those pancakes... A wave of nausea hit me. I leaned against the plastic rim of the trash bin, breathing heavily. This wasn't a bad daughter-in-law. This wasn't a clash of personalities. This was an assassination attempt. But why? I stuffed the receipt and the seed packet into my pocket. I carefully retied the trash bag and placed it back in the bin, exactly how I found it. I couldn't let her know I knew. Not yet. I walked back into the house, my mind racing. I needed to think like an architect. I needed to look at the structure of this situation. What was the load-bearing wall? What was the motivation? Money. It's always money. I have a significant life insurance policy. Eleanor and I set it up years ago. Liam is the sole beneficiary, and the house is worth nearly $3 million in this market. If I die, Liam gets everything. And since Washington is a community property state, whatever Liam gets, Chloe effectively gets access to. I went into my study, my sanctuary, and locked the door. I sat at my desk, turning on my computer. I needed to see if there were any financial cracks I had missed. I logged into my bank accounts. Everything looked normal. Then I logged into the joint account I had with Liam. We had opened it when he was in college for emergencies, and I never took him off. I rarely checked it because I only kept a few $1,000s in there for household repairs that he sometimes managed for me. The balance was $42.18. It should have been $5,000 zalozed. I clicked on the transaction history. Withdrawal ATM Casino Resort, 500. Withdrawal ATM Casino Resort, 500. Transfer to C. Miller, Chloe's maiden name. The Thurs 200 online payment, a Lux Life credit card. 2,000. The withdrawals went back 3 months. They were draining the account. I sat back, the leather chair creaking. Liam had a gambling problem, or was it Chloe? The casino withdrawals suggested Liam, or both of them. The credit card payment suggested Deb. If they were desperate for money, desperate enough to wait for an inheritance. A knock on the door made me jump. Dad. It was Liam. His voice was muffled through the heavy oak door. Are you in there? I quickly minimized the browser. Yes, Liam. I'm working. Can I come in? We need to talk. I hesitated. Did I feel safe letting him in? He was my son. The boy I taught to ride a bike. The boy who cried when he broke his arm. Surely he wasn't in on the ricin. He defended her. Yes, he was blind. Yes. But a murderer. I couldn't believe it. I unlocked the door and opened it. Liam stood there, looking sheepish. He held a mug of tea. I brought you some chamomile, he said, to calm your nerves. I know you're upset about Buster. I looked at the tea. Steam curled off the surface. It smelled floral and sweet. Normally I would have taken it with a smile. Now, it looked like a weapon. Thanks, I said, taking the mug but not drinking it. I set it down on a coaster on my desk. What did you want to talk about? Liam sat on the edge of the leather sofa. Look, I think we should look into finding a new place for me and Chloe. This living arrangement isn't working. You're stressed, she's stressed. It's toxic. I agree, I said, watching him closely. When were you thinking? Soon, he said. But, well, that's the problem. We're a little short on the deposit. The market is crazy right now. We found a condo, perfect for us, but we need about $50,000 for the down payment and closing costs. $50,000. I thought you were saving money living here rent-free for 6 months, I said. Liam shifted uncomfortably. We had some unexpected expenses. Chloe's brand needed investment. Equipment travel. You have to spend money to make money in her industry. I see, I said. And the casino withdrawals. Liam's face went white. You saw that? I checked the joint account. Liam, it's empty. I can explain, he stammered. We went for a weekend, just to blow off steam. We got a little carried away. But I was going to put it back, so you want me to give you $50,000? I asked. Not give, loan. An investment, Liam pleaded. Dade, please. If we get this condo, we're out of your hair. You get your house back. You get your peace back. Isn't that worth it? I looked at my son. He was desperate. Sweat was beading on his forehead. I'll think about it, I said. Really? Hope flared in his eyes. Yes, but I need a few days to move some assets around, I lied.
Give me until Friday. Friday is perfect.
Liam stood up, looking relieved. Thanks, Dad. You won't regret it. Oh, drink your tea before it gets cold. I will, I said. He left, closing the door behind him. I looked at the tea. I picked up the mug and walked to the ensuite bathroom attached to my study. I poured the tea into a plastic sample container I had kept from a previous medical test kit. I capped it tight. Then I poured the rest down the sink and rinsed the mug. I wasn't taking any chances. I needed to know what was in that tea. And I needed to know what they did with the castor beans. I waited until 200 a.m. The house was silent. I crept out of my study, the sample vial in my pocket. I moved like a ghost in my own home. I went to the kitchen. I needed to check the pantry. If she had castor beans, she had to process them. You have to peel them and mash them to extract the toxin. It's a messy process. I opened the pantry door. It was organized chaos. Boxes of pasta, jars of sauce. I checked the back shelves. Nothing. I checked the spice rack. Nothing. Then I saw it, on the top shelf, pushed all the way to the back behind a fondue set we never used. A mortar and pestle. We didn't own a mortar and pestle. Eleanor always used a food processor. I reached up and took it down. It was stone heavy and gray. Inside the bowl there was a faint, oily residue. A brownish smear. I took a Q-tip from the kitchen drawer. Chloe kept a stash there for touch-ups and swiped the residue. I put the Q-tip in a Ziploc bag. I had the receipt, the seed packet, the tea sample, the residue. Now I needed to analyze it. I didn't have a lab. But I knew someone who did. Dr. Henderson wasn't just a GP. He was part of a practice that had a full diagnostic lab attached. I went back to my study and sent an email to Robert. Subject urgent, private. Bob, I need a favor, a big one. I need you to run a tox screen on a liquid sample and a surface swab, not through the official insurance channels. Off the books. I'll pay cash. I'll explain later. It's about the allergy. I hit send. I sat in the dark, listening to the house settle. Upstairs, my son and his wife were sleeping. Or were they? I heard a floorboard creak. It came from the hallway outside my study. I held my breath. The doorknob to my study slowly, very slowly, began to turn. I had locked it after Liam left. The knob rattled, then stopped. A shadow moved under the door gap. Then footsteps retreated softly back toward the stairs. They were checking to see if I was asleep, or they were coming to finish what the pancakes didn't. The next morning, the house felt like a stage set for a play where everyone knew their lines, but nobody trusted the plot. I woke up at 5:30 a.m., having slept in my study chair with the door bolted. My neck was stiff, and there was a gritty taste of exhaustion in my mouth. I hadn't undressed. I felt like a soldier in a foxhole, waiting for the dawn bombardment. I unlocked the study door quietly and peered out. The hallway was empty. The morning light was gray and diffused, typical for Seattle in late autumn. I needed to get out of the house before they woke up. I needed to get the samples to Robert. I grabbed the plastic vial of tea and the Ziploc bag with the Q-tip. I put them in my coat pocket, checking twice to make sure they were sealed. I bypassed the kitchen entirely, no coffee today, and went straight to the garage. As I backed my car out, I saw the curtains in the guest bedroom twitch. Chloe, watching. I drove to Robert's clinic. It wasn't open yet, but I knew he got there early to do paperwork. I parked around the back, near the staff entrance, and texted him I'm at the back door. 2 minutes later, the heavy steel door opened. Robert stood there in his white coat, holding a steaming mug of coffee. He looked tired. Arthur, he asked, ushering me in. What the hell is going on? You look like you haven't slept in a week. I haven't slept in 24 hours. I corrected him, stepping into the sterile hallway. It smelled of antiseptic and floor wax, a comforting, orderly smell compared to the chaos of my home. I have the samples. We went into his private office. I laid the vial and the baggie on his desk. What am I looking for? Robert asked, putting on his glasses. The vial is chamomile tea my son gave me last night. The swab is from a mortar and pestle I found hidden in my pantry. I said, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. I found a receipt for castor beans in the trash, and a packet of seeds with the seeds missing. Robert went very still. He looked from the samples to me, his eyes widening behind his lenses. Castor beans? He whispered.
Listen, I don't know for sure,
I said. But the dog, Buster, nearly died yesterday from xylitol poisoning. Chloe made pancakes with xylitol and walnuts. She knows I'm allergic to walnuts. It feels like she's trying everything. Robert sat down heavily. Arthur, these are serious accusations. Ricin is a biological weapon. If this tests positive, we have to call the police. The FBI even. I know, I said, but I need to be sure first. I can't accuse my son's wife of attempted murder on a hunch. If I'm wrong, I lose Liam forever. If I'm right, if you're right, you're in immediate danger, Robert finished. He picked up the samples with a gloved hand. I can run the tea for common toxins and sedatives right here. The swab, for ricin, I have to send that to a specific toxicology lab downtown. I can put a rush on it, call in a favor, say it's a suspected accidental ingestion case so it doesn't flag the authorities immediately, but it will take 24 hours. Do the tea first, I said. I need to know what I almost drank last night. Give me an hour, Robert said. Go get some breakfast. Not at home. I went to a cafe down the street and forced myself to eat a bagel. I couldn't taste it. I watched the people walking by. Couples holding hands, people rushing to work. They all seemed so normal. Their problems were probably about deadlines or leaky faucets. My problem was that my daughter-in-law might be brewing poison in my kitchen. My phone buzzed. It was Liam. "Where did you go?" "We were going to make breakfast." I typed back, "Early meeting with a contractor for a potential project. Be back later." A lie, but necessary. I went back to the clinic at 900 a.m. Robert was waiting for me. He looked grim. "The tea," he said, holding up a printout. It tested positive for benzodiazepines, specifically a high dose of alprazolam.
Xanax.
Xanax! I frowned. "I don't have a prescription for Xanax." "Does Chloe?" "I don't know," I said. "Probably she has anxiety." "Arthur, the amount in this tea, it wouldn't kill you," Robert said, pointing to the numbers. "But it would knock you out cold for 12 hours. Deep sleep. Suppressed respiratory function. Why knock me out?" I asked, the pieces clicking together in my mind. Unless they wanted to do something while you were asleep," Robert suggested darkly. "Or maybe they just wanted to stop you from snooping. Or maybe," I said, a cold realization washing over me, "they wanted me asleep so they could stage something, an accident, a fall down the stairs, a fire." Robert rubbed his temples. "You cannot go back there, Arthur. You need to stay in a hotel." "No," I said firmly. "If I leave, they'll know I suspect something. They'll clean up the evidence. They'll disappear. I need that written result. Once I have that, I have proof of intent to kill. Then I go to the police." "Arthur, this is reckless." "It's my house, Robert. It's my son," I said. "I have to know if he's involved. That tea, Liam gave it to me." "But did he brew it? Or did she give it to him to give to me?" "Does it matter?" Robert asked. "He handed you a drugged cup. It matters to a father?" I said softly. I left the clinic with a copy of the report tucked into my jacket. I drove to a hardware store. I bought 3 hidden cameras, the kind that looked like USB chargers and smoke detectors. I also bought a high-end digital voice recorder. I was going to war. I arrived home around noon. The house was empty. Liam's car was gone, and so was Chloe's. This was perfect. I moved quickly. I replaced the smoke detector in the kitchen with the camera unit. It had a wide-angle lens that covered the island and the stove. I plugged the USB charger camera into the outlet in the living room, facing the sofa where they usually sat. I placed the third camera in my study, hidden on a bookshelf between 2 thick architecture manuals. I synced them all to an app on my phone, ensuring the notifications were silent. Then I went upstairs to their bedroom. I felt like a criminal invading their privacy, but the memory of the benzodiazepine report steeled my resolve. I opened the door. The room was a mess. Clothes everywhere, unmade bed. It smelled of her expensive perfume and stale air. I checked the bathroom cabinet. I found a bottle of Xanax, prescribed to Chloe Miller. The date was recent. The bottle was half empty. I took a photo of the bottle. Then I checked the closet. I was looking for the recent materials. The beans, the mash. I checked the shoeboxes. I checked the luggage. Nothing. I looked under the bed. There was a plastic storage bin. I pulled it out. Inside, I didn't find poison. I found papers. I sat on the floor and started reading. They were debt collection notices. Final warnings: credit card 1 past due 12 400, credit card 20 past due 1 8 at 900, personal loan. Default notice 25,000, gambling addiction support pamphlet. Crumpled. It was worse than I thought. They weren't just saving for a house. They were drowning. They were buried under nearly $50,000 of immediate debt, likely much more in total. Then I found a notebook. It was Chloe's. It was filled with content ideas, hashtags, and sketches for videos, but the last few pages were different. They were lists.
Plan A, the accident. Stairs.
Rug. Plan B, the reaction. Psi allergy. Plan C, the sickness. Slow. Natural causes. My heart hammered against my ribs. It was a kill list, written in bubbly pink ink with little hearts dotting this. Plan B, the reaction. That was the walnuts. Plan C, the sickness. That was the recent. And Plan A, the accident. I looked at the top of the stairs. The floating oak staircase I was so proud of. It was steep. A fall from the top could easily break a neck, especially for a man of 62. I took photos of the notebook pages. My hands were shaking so bad the first few were blurry. I had to steady my phone against my knee. I put everything back exactly as I found it. I went back downstairs to my study and watched the camera feeds on my phone. The house was silent. I had enough. I had the Xanax result. I had the kill list. I didn't need the written confirmation to know I was in danger. I needed to get the police involved now. But as I reached for the phone to call 911, the front door opened. "Arthur, we're home?" Chloe's voice sang out. I froze. I couldn't call now. They would hear me.
Damn, Liam called. "We brought lunch. Tacos."
I took a deep breath. I needed to act normal. I needed to survive until I could get away safely. I walked out of the study. Hey, just finishing up some work. They were in the kitchen. Chloe was unpacking takeout bags. Liam was opening a beer. It was 100 p.m. on a Wednesday. "We have great news!" Chloe beamed. "We put an offer on the condo!" The agent said if we can get the deposit by Friday, it's ours. They were pushing the timeline. They needed the money by Friday. Today was Wednesday. "That's great," I said, forcing a smile. "So about that loan," Liam said, handing me a taco. "Did you move the assets?" "I started the process," I lied. "It takes 48 hours to clear. Friday morning, the funds should be available." I was buying time. "Friday morning," Chloe repeated, her eyes narrowing slightly. "That's cutting it close, Arthur. The bank closes at 500 p.m. It'll be there," I assured her. "Here, have a taco," she said, pushing the plate toward me. I looked at the taco: ground beef, cheese, lettuce. "I'm actually not hungry," I said. "I had a big bagel." "Just one bite?" she pressed. "It's from that place you like." "No." "Thank you," I said firmly. "You're being weird again," Liam said, taking a bite of his own. "Just eat the food, Dad."
I said no, I snapped.
The tension in the room spiked. "Fine," Chloe said, slamming the foil wrapper down. "Don't eat."
"Starve for all I care."
She marched out of the room. Liam sighed. "Why do you have to provoke her?" "I'm not provoking her, Liam. I'm just not hungry." "Whatever, I'm going to go play video games." He left me alone in the kitchen. I looked at the taco. I carefully wrapped it in a napkin and put it in my pocket. Another sample for Robert. I went back to my study. I checked the camera feed. The kitchen camera was recording. 10 minutes later, Chloe walked back into the kitchen. She thought she was alone. She walked over to the trash can. She pulled out the taco I had refused, or so she thought. I had swapped it with a wrapper from the trash to make it look like I threw it away, but I kept the actual food. She looked at the empty wrapper I had planted. She smiled. A chilling, satisfied smile. Then she reached into her pocket. She pulled out a small glass dropper bottle. She walked over to the water pitcher I kept on the counter, the one I used to fill my glass throughout the day. She unscrewed the dropper. She squeezed 3 drops of clear liquid into the water. She swirled the pitcher. Then she walked away. I watched the screen, horrified. She had just poisoned my water supply. That was the ricin. Or something equally deadly. I saved the video clip. I had her on video poisoning my drink. I texted Robert, "I have video proof. She poisoned the water pitcher. I'm getting out." Robert replied instantly, "Jido yut no dogu. Giotto teach puli." I grabbed my keys. I grabbed my laptop. I was leaving. I wasn't going to wait for the confrontation. I was going straight to the precinct. I opened the study door. Liam was standing there, blocking the hallway. He wasn't smiling. "Where are you going, Dad?" "Just running an errand," I said, trying to step past him. He moved to block me. "Chloe says you've been acting strange. She thinks you're up to something." "I'm not up to anything. Liam."
Move.
When she saw the camera, Liam said softly. My blood froze. "What?" "The smoke detector," Liam said. "It has a little red light that blinks differently." She noticed it. She climbed up on a chair and saw the lens. He held up the camera unit. He had ripped it off the ceiling. "Why are you spying on us, Dad?" "Because your wife is trying to kill me," I said, dropping the pretense. "And I have proof." Liam's face crumpled. For a second, I thought he was going to cry. Then his expression hardened into something brittle and desperate. "She's not trying to kill you," he said. She's desperate." "We're in trouble, Dad. Bad trouble. These people, the loan sharks, they're going to hurt us if we don't pay." "So you decided to kill me for the insurance money," I shouted. "To pay off gambling debts." "Lou didn't want to," Liam yelled back. "We tried to ask you, but you're so stingy. You sit on this pile of money and watch us struggle. I gave you a home."
"I paid for your college. It's not enough."
Chloe appeared at the top of the stairs. She was holding something heavy, a large bronze statue I kept in the hallway. "Liam, don't let him leave," she said, her voice cold and flat. "If he leaves, we go to jail." "Arthur," she said to me, descending the stairs slowly. "We just need the money. Sign the check, transfer the funds, and we'll leave. Nobody has to get hurt." "You already poisoned the water," I said. "You tried to poison the pancakes. You drugged my tea." "Insurance policies," she shrugged. "Just in case you were stubborn. And you are stubborn, Arthur. Very stubborn." She reached the bottom of the stairs. She hefted the statue. "Grab him." "Liam?" Liam looked at me, then at her. "Liam, don't do this," I pleaded. "She's using you. We can fix the debt. But murder, there's no coming back from that." "We don't have a choice," Liam whispered. "They're going to break my legs." "Dad." He lunged for me. Note the title, Anniversary Dinner, is ironic here. It refers to the date, which I realized in that moment was the anniversary of the day I bought this house. Liam was younger, stronger, and heavier than me. He tackled me into the wall. My head cracked against the plaster, and stars exploded in my vision. "Stop fighting," he grunted, pinning my arms. Liam. Get off! I shouted, struggling. I kneed him in the stomach, but he barely flinched. Adrenaline is a hell of a drug. Chloe walked over. She didn't look like a daughter-in-law anymore. She looked like a predator. Tee him up, she ordered. Use the zip ties from the garage. Chloe, are we really doing this? Liam panted, holding me down. Do you want to go to prison? Or do you want to be rich and free? She hissed. He knows Liam. He has cameras. He probably told someone. We have to finish this now and make it look like a break-in gone wrong. A break-in. That was plan A, Liam!
I yelled, looking into my son's eyes.
She's talking about killing me! Right now! Think about what you're doing! Shut up! Liam screamed, tears streaming down his face.
Just shut up!
He dragged me into the living room. He pushed me onto the chair. Chloe came back with zip ties. They bound my hands behind my back and my ankles to the chair legs. I was trapped. In the house I built, by the son I raised. Okay, Chloe said, pacing the room. Here's the story. We came home, we found intruders. They attacked Arthur. Liam tried to fight them off but got knocked out. By the time he woke up, Arthur was gone. Gone. Liam asked, his voice trembling. Heart attack, she said. Induced by stress, or maybe a fall. We'll figure it out. She looked at me. Where is the phone, Arthur? The one with the app. I don't have it. I lied. It was in my pocket. She patted me down. She found it instantly. She smashed it on the floor, stomping on it with her heel until the glass was powder. No more evidence, she said. The cloud, I gasped, my head throbbing. It uploads to the cloud instantly. She paused. Fear flickered in her eyes. Is lying, she said. The Wi-Fi is spotty in the study. Check it if you want, I challenged her. But the police are already on their way. I texted my doctor. You're bluffing, Liam said. You didn't text anyone, did I? I looked at him. Do you want to take that chance? Sudden pounding on the front door made us all jump. Piolice! Open up! My heart soared. Robert, he had called them. Chloe's face went white. She looked at the door, then at me. You bastard, she snarled. She raised the bronze statue. Chloe, no? Liam shouted.
If I'm going down, I'm taking him with me,
she screamed. She swung the statue at my head. I flinched, closing my eyes, waiting for the impact. It never came. There was a sickening thud, but not on me. I opened my eyes. Liam had stepped in front of me. The statue had hit him on the shoulder, sending him crashing to the floor. He screamed in agony, clutching his arm. It looked broken. You idiot! Chloe shrieked. The front door burst open. Splinters of wood flew everywhere. 3 uniformed officers stormed in. Guns draw, mate! Oh, anti-robo! Chloe stood there, the bloody statue in her hand, breathing hard. For a second, she looked like she might charge the cops. She dropped the statue. It clanged heavily on the hardwood floor. She raised her hands, her face a mask of shock and defeat. He attacked me! She screamed instantly, pointing at Liam on the floor. My husband attacked me! I was defending myself! Get down, now! The officer wasn't buying it. He tackled her to the ground, cuffing her hands behind her back. Another officer rushed to Liam. Sir, can you hear me? Liam was groaning, curling into a ball. A third officer came to me, cutting the zip ties with a knife. Are you Arthur? He asked. Yes! I rasped, rubbing my wrists. Thank God Dr. Henderson called us, the officer said. He said you were in immediate danger. I looked over at Chloe. She was being hauled up by the officer. She looked at me with pure venom. You ruined everything, she spat. You selfish old man.
You should have just died.
Get her out of here, I said. Turning away, they dragged her out. I knelt beside Liam. He was pale, sweating from the pain. Liam, he looked up at me. His eyes were filled with shame. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry.
Dad.
You saved me, I said softly. In the end, you saved me. I couldn't let her hurt you, he choked out. I'm weak, Dad. I'm so weak. But I'm not a killer. I know, I said, putting a hand on his good shoulder. I know. Paramedics arrived. They loaded Liam onto a stretcher. I stood in the living room, watching the flashing lights of the police cars and ambulance reflect off the walls. The house was a crime scene. The bronze statue lay on the floor, a testament to the violence that had just occurred. Buster was still at the vet. My son was going to the hospital, and then likely to jail. My daughter-in-law was in a cruiser. I was alive. But as I looked around the empty, broken room, I realized that the silence I had once cherished was now the loudest thing in the world. The war was over. But the wreckage was everywhere. The lights of the police cruisers eventually faded, leaving my street in a darkness deeper than I had ever known. The neighbors who had peered through their blinds as my daughter-in-law was handcuffed and my son was loaded into an ambulance, had gone back to their lives. I was left standing in the foyer, staring at the gouge in the hardwood floor where the bronze statue had landed. It is a strange thing to survive your own family. You don't feel victorious, you feel hollowed out. I spent that first night in a hotel. I couldn't stay in the house. It smelled of betrayal. The next morning, my first stop wasn't the hospital, it was the vet. Dr. Lewis smiled when she saw me. He's ready to go home, Arthur. Buster walked out slowly, his tail giving a weak thump against the doorframe. He looked thinner, and his eyes were tired, but he was alive. I knelt on the linoleum floor and buried my face in his neck, sobbing for the first time since the ordeal began. He licked my ear, forgiving me for failing to protect him. Animals are better than us. They really are. With Buster safe in the back seat of my rental car, I drove to the hospital. Liam was in a private room, handcuffed to the bedrail. A police officer sat outside the door reading a magazine. He's under arrest. I asked the officer. Pending charges, the officer said without looking up. Accessory to attempted murder. Conspiracy. But given he took the hit for you, the DA is weighing the options. I walked in. Liam's arm was in a sling, his face bruised and swollen. He looked small. When he saw me, he tried to sit up, but grimaced in pain. Dad, he croaked. I pulled a chair over and sat down. I didn't hold his hand. I could not yet. Why, Liam? I asked. The question that had been burning a hole in my chest. I know about the debt. I know about the gambling. But murder? How did you let it get that far? Liam looked at the ceiling, tears leaking from the corners of his eyes. It didn't start as murder. It started as just wanting the money. Chloe said we deserved it. She said you had so much and we had nothing. She made me feel like a failure for not being able to provide for her. So you steal from me? I thought I could win it back. He whispered. The casinos. I thought one big win would fix it. But the hole just got deeper. And then she started talking about how tragic it would be if you had an accident. At first, I thought she was joking. Then she started buying things, the seeds, the chemicals. And you didn't stop her. I was scared of her, he admitted, looking at me with shame. She's not who I thought she was. She has this way of making you feel like everything she does is for us, and if you go against her, you're the enemy. She told me if I went to the police, she'd pin it all on me. She said she'd say I was the mastermind. She tried that anyway, I said coldly. When the police came in, she screamed that you attacked her. Liam closed his eyes. I know. I heard. The reason, I said. Did you know about the reason? I knew she was making something in the garage, he said. She told me it was just to make you sick, to hospitalize you so we could get power of attorney and access the accounts. I didn't know she wanted to kill you until she poisoned the water pitcher. That's when I knew there was no coming back. You saved my life, Liam, I said, but you also watched her try to end it for weeks. I don't know how to forgive that. I don't expect you to, he wept. I left him there. I had to meet with the detectives. The investigation was swift and damning. My hunch about the garage was right. Behind a stack of old paint cans, they found a makeshift lab. Mortar, pestle, safety goggles, and a jar of mash that tested positive for high concentrations of ricin. They also found the digital trail, searches for undetectable poisons, probate laws Washington, and how to stage a fatal fall. Chloe's defense crumbled before it even began. She tried to play the victim, claiming I was abusive and Liam was the mastermind, but the video I had captured on the hidden camera. Her poisoning the water, her calm demeanor while discussing my death was the nail in her coffin. But the most painful part wasn't the legal process. It was the discovery of who my son had become. The gambling debts were astronomical. He had taken out loans in my name using my social security number. He had pawned my late wife's jewelry, pieces I thought were safe in a deposit box I hadn't checked in years. Every day brought a new revelation, a new betrayal. I sat in my empty house, Buster at my feet, surrounded by boxes. I couldn't live there anymore. I couldn't walk down the stairs without seeing Chloe holding that statue. I couldn't cook in the kitchen without smelling burnt sugar and fear. I put the house on the market a week after the arrest. 6 months later, the courtroom was cold and smelled of floor polish and anxiety. I sat in the gallery, Dr. Henderson beside me for support. Chloe was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit. She had lost weight. Her hair was dull. She didn't look at me. She didn't look at anyone. She had pleaded guilty to attempted murder in the first degree and conspiracy to commit murder. In exchange for the death penalty being taken off the table, though rare in Washington, the DA had threatened it to force a plea. The judge, a stern woman with no patience for theatrics, read the sentence. Chloe Miller, for your crimes against Arthur Vance, acts of calculated malice and greed, I sentence you to 25 years in the state penitentiary, with no possibility of parole for 20 years. The gavel banged. It sounded like a gunshot. Chloe didn't cry, she just stared ahead, her face a mask of stone. As they led her away, she glanced at me. There was no remorse in her eyes, only hatred. She blamed me for surviving. Then, it was Liam's turn. His lawyer had cut a deal. Because he had intervened and saved my life, and because he had provided full testimony against Chloe, the attempted murder charges were dropped. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy, fraud, and accessory after the fact. Liam Vance, the judge said, your actions were cowardly and despicable. You watched your wife plan to kill your own father for money. You stole from him. You betrayed his trust. Liam hung his head. However, the judge continued, this court recognizes that in the final moment you chose to act. You took a blow meant for your father. You stopped the murder. For that reason, and that reason alone, I am showing leniency. He was sentenced to 5 years, with 3 suspended. He would serve 2 years in a minimum security facility, followed by 5 years of probation. He was also ordered to pay restitution for the theft and fraud. 2 years. It felt like both an eternity and a slap on the wrist. I visited him one last time before he was transferred. We spoke through the glass partition. I sold the house, I told him. I know, he said. I'm sorry, Dad. I love that house. It was just wood and stone, I said. I bought a condo in the city, near the waterfront. Buster likes the park there. I want to pay you back, Liam said earnestly. Every cent. When I get out, I'm going to work 3 jobs if I have to. Focus on fixing yourself first, Liam, I said. The money is gone. I don't care about the money. I care that you lost your soul somewhere along the way. You need to find it again. Will you visit me? He asked, his voice small. I looked at my son. I saw the toddler who fell off his bike. I saw the teenager who graduated high school. And I saw the man who watched his wife brew poison in my garage. I don't know, I said honestly. I need time. A lot of time. I hung up the phone and walked away. I didn't look back. The aftermath rebuilding a life at 63 isn't easy, but it's necessary. I moved into my new condo. It's smaller, brighter, and modern. No dark corners. No stairs to fall down. I have a balcony where I grow tomatoes and herbs. No castor beans allowed. I started consulting again. I took on a project designing a community center for at-risk youth. It keeps me busy. It gives me purpose. Dr. Henderson, Robert, comes over for dinner on Fridays. We order Thai food and watch old movies. He checks my blood pressure. It's finally back to 120/80. Buster made a full recovery. He's slower now, a true senior dog, but he's happy. We walk along the pier every morning, watching the ferries cross the Puget Sound. I haven't visited Liam yet. It's been 4 months. He writes me letters. I read them, but I don't reply. Not yet. He talks about the counseling he's getting in prison. He talks about realizing how manipulated he was, but also owning his own greed. He sounds like he's waking up from a long, bad dream. Maybe one day I'll write back. Maybe one day we can have coffee. But trust is like a mirror. Once it's shattered, you can glue it back together, but you can still see the cracks in the reflection. I saved myself. I saved my dog. And in a way, I saved my son from becoming a murderer, even if I had to send him to prison to do it. It wasn't the golden years I had planned. But I'm alive. And for now, that is enough. Outro is a narrator voice. That brings us to the end of this story. It's a harsh reminder that sometimes the people closest to us are the ones we need to watch the most carefully. Arthur's architectural eye for detail saved his life, but it couldn't save his heart from breaking. I have a question for you all. If you were Arthur, would you have forgiven Liam? Do you think saving his father's life at the last second redeems him for weeks of complicity? Or does he deserve to be cut off forever? Let me know your verdict in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Until next time, stay safe, watch your drinks, and trust your instincts.